Okay, so this is chapter 11 of my new book, Overcoming ACT Math, that we're going to be doing now. So make sure that you check the description if you've purchased this book and are watching this on YouTube later to see if there's any updates or any suggestions that I put in there over time. Now, what we're going to do is, we're not going to do a brief summary of what we're going to be going over, because this is just the chapter that's like a bunch of random word problems that are all spewed together. So it's not necessarily going over like a specific skill set. It encompasses a bunch of different ones from all the different chapters that just happen to be like longer word problems. So let's go to number 1. It says Berhan is printing newspapers for her school paper. If she has $40 to print these newspapers and each printed newspaper costs 10 cents, then how many newspapers can she print? So she has $40, and each one of them is going to cost her 10 cents. So we would do $40 divided by 10 cents, and then that's going to be 400. So it would be D for this one. And then for number 2, it says Rachel has $9. She wants to buy mangoes and peaches. Mangoes cost 45 cents each, and peaches cost 95 cents each. If she buys 7 mangoes, what is the maximum number of whole peaches she can buy? Assume that she doesn't have to pay tax. So I put a couple of these every so often in the ACT book. I know it's multiple choice, but just so you can practice your arithmetic skills periodically, because you never know what'll happen on test day with your calculator. I've had students where their calculators die on them and stuff, so I think it's good to practice this like periodically anyways. So what we're going to do is we're going to write an equation for this scenario. So they said that it's 45 cents for each of the mangoes, and they said that they're buying 7 mangoes. So to find the cost of the mangoes, it would be 45 cents times 7 mangoes. Now, it says that each of the peaches costs 95 cents. So we're going to add on 95 cents times however many peaches we buy. And that needs to add up to, thank you for the gift, guys. So this needs to add up to the amount that she has, which is $9. So she can't go past that, but she can spend $9. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to multiply this all out and solve for what P is. So when we multiply 0.45 times 7, we're going to get 3.15. And then we just copy down the rest of our problem. Now we're trying to solve for P, so that means that we need to get P by itself. Well, we're going to do that by subtracting $3.15 from each side. It's going to cancel out there. And then over here, you're going to get that on the left-hand side, since that cancels out, it's just 0.95p. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to get that that's equal to $5.85. Thank you for the shares, guys, and likes. So then now what you're going to do is you're going to divide by 0.95 on each side to get P completely by itself. So when you divide by 0.95 on each side, you're going to get approximately like 6.1 yada yada yada. But remember, you can't have it's like 6.15 something something. You can't have that many peaches. You can't have a fraction of a peach when you go to the store, so you can only have 6. So 6 would be the amount of peaches that you can buy. So let's go to number 3. So it says Laura was calculating her monthly expenses. In order to correctly calculate her monthly expenses, she needs to add 7 to a specific number and then divide by 6. Instead, Laura subtracted 6 and then divided by 7, getting $84 for her monthly expenses. If she had correctly calculated her expenses, then what would her monthly expenses actually be in dollars? So let's write an equation for this first scenario that they described. So they said that the first scenario, meaning like what she actually like did. So Laura subtracted 6 from a number, so we're going to subtract 6 from a number, and then divide by 7. And then she got $84 for her monthly expenses. So this X represents that mystery number that we're talking about. Now remember, they're not asking us to calculate the mystery number, they're asking us to calculate what the correct monthly expenses would be, but in order to do that, we need to know what the number is we're supposed to be starting with. So we need to solve for X and then do the appropriate calculations to it. So I'm going to multiply each side by 7 to get X minus 6 by itself over here. And then when I multiply 84 by 7, I'm going to get 594. And then we are going to, or sorry, not 594. I'm skipping ahead to the next step and adding it already. 588, and then you add 6, and that's when you get 594. And then what you're going to do now is we have X, so now we have to do the correct calculations. So it says the correct calculations would be to add 7 and then divide by 6 to this specific number. So we have 594 and we're going to add 7 and divide by 6. So then that's going to be 601 over 6. So the answer would be E. So let's go to number 4. Thank you guys for sharing the live. In order to be entered into a raffle for a new TV, Carla must purchase at least $60 worth of cereal. Suppose each box of cereal costs $1.50. What is the minimum number of boxes of cereal that she needs to purchase in order to be entered into this raffle? So what we would say is our equation is 1.50, like $1.50, times the number of cereal boxes, we'll just call that B, has to equal $60 because that's like the least, it has to be at least that much that she's buying. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide each side by $1.50 to find out how many cereal boxes B she needs to get. So if we divide each side by 1.5, we're going to get that equals 40. So the answer should be D. Okay, let's go to the next one. So it says, at a phone store, there are 34 phones with Bluetooth capabilities and 7 phones with touchscreens. The number of phones at the store with both Bluetooth capabilities and touchscreens needs to be, okay, so it says, these are our options. So if we're talking about what they have to have both of those capabilities. Now, remember, you have to look at like what the smallest number is for this, because you can't say that there's 34 phones or something. You can't say that there's 34 that have both the Bluetooth capabilities and the touch screens, because there's only 7 phones that have touch screens. So you have touch screens. So you have to reference the lower number, because that's the number that you're limited by. You're limited by there's only 7 phones with touch screens. So you could say that you can have no more than 7. That's your limit. F. Someone asked when I'm going live again. So after tomorrow, I'm going to try to go live. I'm debating between 12 p.m. Eastern for the first one or 2 p.m. Eastern. It just depends on like how much I get done in the beginning of the day. So like 12 p.m. Eastern or 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So then let's go to number 6. It says, Aubrey works for a pet grooming salon and earns $15 per hour for working up to 35 hours in 1 week. She earns overtime, which equates to double her usual hourly earnings. For each additional hour, she works past those initial 35 hours each week. If Aubrey works 40 hours this week, then how much will she make this week? So she's going to be making $15 for every one of those 35 hours that she works. So it would be 15 times 35. And then she's going to be working overtime for those additional 5 hours because she's already worked 35. We want to get to 40. So that means she's working 5 more hours where she's getting paid double. So instead of $15, she's getting paid $30 for every one of those 5 hours. So we would do 5 hours times $30. And this would tell us how much money she's making for the entire week. So when we add this all up in our calculator, we get 675. So the answer would be B. And no problem, Anna. I'm glad that it helps you out. Let me just grab some water really quick. Okay, so let's go to number 7. If a basket can carry 12 oranges, how many baskets will be needed to carry 350 oranges? So this one you could set up like, I think most people would see the proportion way the easiest. So saying that one basket can carry 12 oranges, and then matching up your units on top and bottom. So how many X baskets can carry 350 oranges? And then you can just cross multiply and solve for X. So it would be 350 times 1, which is just 350, is equal to 12X. And then you would just solve for X to find out how many baskets you need. So if we divide by 12 on both sides, that's not going to go in evenly. So if we divide by 12 on both sides, we're going to get like 29 point something, something, something. Like it's 29.16666, like 6 repeating. So you can't have like a portion or a fraction of a basket. Like you can't just have 0.1666 repeating of a basket. So you have to go up. You have to like size up kind of with your baskets. And so that would be 30. Because if you have 29, you're not going to have enough, because it needs to be a little bit more than 29 at least. But you can't just have a portion of a basket, so you have to go up to 30. So then let's go to number 8. If this is actually the level of American college entry exams, I'm going to have a panic attack. This is just one of the chapters for the ACT. So then Liam bought a motorcycle that was being sold for $4,800. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough money to purchase the motorcycle without taking out a loan. He was able to make a down payment of $1,200 and took a loan out for the rest of the amount. He repaid the loan in 24 payments of $175 each. How much more did he end up paying, including his down payment, by taking out this loan versus if he had paid for the motorcycle up front? So, why can't you divide 350 by 12? Just briefly, like, you can, you're just going to get a fraction, is what I meant. Like, you can divide it, you're just not going to get a whole number. I meant it doesn't go in evenly. So, for this one, we want to know how much more he ended up paying. So let's calculate how much he paid, and then we're going to subtract the price that it was selling for, the $4,800. So let's say that what he's paying is the down payment, $1,200, plus the 24 payments of $175 each. So that's going to give us how much he's paying for like this bike or motorcycle, I guess, with the loan that he has gotten. So then when we multiply and add all that up, we're going to get $5,400. Now, remember, it was selling for $4,800, so he could have paid that if he had all that money at the time, like if he could have paid that in cash or credit card or whatever, but he didn't have that, so he had to take out this loan, and this is how much he paid. So we need to know how much more he paid, so that would be $5,400 minus the $4,800, and then that's going to equal $600, so it would be F. Okay, so now let me just move this paper out of the way. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so it says, Zoe is planning to install crown molding around the perimeter of her square dining room ceiling. Each side of the dining room ceiling is 18 feet. The dining room has 2 ceiling height doorways that do not require crown molding. Each of these doorways is 4 feet wide. If the molding costs 25 cents per linear foot, then how much will this project cost Zoe, assuming there are no other costs involved? So let's kind of like draw out this ceiling. So this ceiling is a square. It's in a square shape, they said. And then each of the sides is going to be 18 feet, but 2 of the sides have like a little gap in them for the doorway. So there's going to be like a little gap here we'll just put like this as like the little doors is what these should represent. And each of those is going to be 4 feet wide. So that means we have to take off 4 feet because we don't need the crown molding for the doorways. So we only need it for the stuff around on that side, which would be 18 minus 4, which would be 14. So in total, we need 18 plus 18 plus 14 plus 14 feet of this crown molding stuff. So we have to just add that up. So we would do 18 plus 18 plus 14 plus 14. And then we would multiply that by the cost per foot that they gave us, which is 25 cents. So then when you enter that into your calculator, you're going to get $16 as your answer, so G. And then it says, someone said, I just want to say thank you for your content. It's so refreshing to see something wholesome and useful. I'm glad that you like it. And I'm glad that it helps you, Angie, as well. Thank you for sharing and liking the live, guys. Okay, hold on. Let me check because I have notes with me because I upload these. This is kind of like a lesson that goes with my book. And sometimes I put little like notes of formulas and stuff I want to remind people of. And I haven't been looking at it. I don't have any notes. Okay. So then let's go to number 10. So Olivia is flying back from a business trip in Tokyo. She takes a direct flight from Tokyo to Los Angeles. Tokyo's time is 16 hours ahead of Los Angeles' time. Olivia left Tokyo at 8 p.m. local time and landed in Los Angeles at 12 p.m. local time. How long was the flight? Now, I've noticed sort of like these come up a lot more frequently lately, with time stuff, like stuff where you have to calculate like days, or like what day of the week would it be 200 days from now, or like what time would it be, and like this type of scenario, like different time and day problems. So I would just pay attention for those in like your test prep process. So let's, thank you guys for the gifts. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, LA is going to be there, Tokyo is going to be here. So on the flight, like the flight of her leaving would be at, what was it? She leaves Tokyo at 8 p.m. So she's leaving Tokyo at 8 p.m. and it's 16 hours of a time difference. So then it would be 4 a.m. in LA. And then she's going to land in Los Angeles at 12 p.m. that time, like Los Angeles time. So then it's going to be 12 p.m. Los Angeles time. So then if we just want to compare, like you could have done also the Tokyo one if you wanted to, but we don't need to like fill that in. Because we just need like the 2 times in the same time zone to compare. So we would just say, okay, from 4 a.m., because it's technically 4 a.m. in LA when she leaves, and then it's 12 p.m. in LA when she lands. How long is that? Going from 4 a.m., sorry, I can't talk, 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. So then that would be 8 hours. B. Okay, so let's keep going to number 11. It says, Susan goes to the grocery store to buy as many pairs as she can. She has $15. If each pair costs 90 cents, then how much change in cents will Susan get back? So she has that she's going to be buying 90 cents for each pair. It's 90 cents that she's going to, that it's going to cost for each of the pairs, is what I meant to say. So you would do 90 cents times P as the number of pairs, and she has $15, so she can get $15 worth of pairs. So if we write out that situation as an equation, it looks like this. Now we're trying to figure out how much change she's going to get. So we have to figure out how many pairs she can buy, like the most amount of pairs she can buy, and then how much that's going to cost her. So let's figure out what P is, and then we'll figure out how much that's going to cost her. So if we divide each side by 90 cents or 0.90, we're going to get that, let's see, that would be, let me put in my calculator real quick. So 15 divided by 0.9 is 16.66666 repeating. So she can buy 16 pairs because you can't buy like 0.6 of a pair. That doesn't work in real life. So we would say that she at most can buy 16 pairs. So now let's calculate, okay, how much is that going to cost her? Well, it's 90 cents per pair. So 90 cents times the 16 pairs. And when we do that, we're going to get $14.40. Now, remember the question was how much change is she getting back? So she has $15 that she's going to give the clerk or cashier or whatever. And we have to subtract the amount of her purchase. So then that's going to be 60 cents. So it would be C. Thank you guys for liking and sharing the live. So number 12 says that a teenager decides to start his own sneaker business. He spends $30 on materials to make a single pair of sneakers. He sells each pair of sneakers for $120. If the teenager wants to earn a profit of at least $1,000, then what is the minimum number of sneakers that the teenager must sell? Okay, so let's think about the profit per sneaker. So he's spending, the expenses are $30. Like he spends $30 on the materials and he sells them for $120. So that means that the profit for every pair of sneakers is going to be $90. So it's going to be $90 in profit for each of the sneakers that he sells. So we could say that 90 times the X amount of sneakers that he sells equals 1,000 for him to get at least a profit of $1,000. So then what we're going to do is we're going to divide by 90 to figure out what X is, what the number of sneakers is that he would need to sell. And so when we do that, we're going to get that X is equal to 11 point, and then it's like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 repeating. So remember, it's asking for the minimum number of sneakers that he has to sell. Now, you can't sell a portion of a sneaker. But if he sold 11 sneakers, that's too little. He's not getting to the $1,000 yet. So we need to like size up, I don't know how else to say that, to the next number, which would be 12. So he can sell 12 and that'll get him over 100. but that's still the minimum because we can't sell a fraction of a sneaker. So it would be H. Round up, yes. Sorry, that was just like, well, no, actually not round up, because you're not rounding up technically, because rounding is looking at the neighbor and then like seeing like if the neighbor is 5 or greater, like going up. So it wouldn't be rounding up necessarily. It's something else. It's basically you just can't have a fraction, so you have to go up to the next number. So then let's go to this one right here. Give me 1 second to get water. Why can't you just divide 1,000 by 120? Because that's not the profit. 120 is how much he's selling the pair of sneakers for, but it costs him $30 to make it. So 90 is the profit because per sneaker that he sells, not 120. That's why. So then let's go to number 13. It says the Parent-Teacher Association decides to spend $250 for baking materials, $450 for drinks, and $100 for decorations for their annual bake sale. The Parent-Teacher Association estimates 500 students will come to the bake sale. Assuming their estimate is correct, then what should they charge per student as an entrance fee to the bake sale if the Parent-Teacher Association wants to have a profit of at least $750? Oh, okay. So it's going to be, let's think, the profit per ticket or per entrance fee we'll say is X. So we'll just use our regular X that we're used to. So 500 times the X number of students is going to be how much revenue they bring in, like how much money is like being directly handed to them at the entrance by this 500 students in total. But remember, it's not free to throw this. Like, they had expenses, so we have to subtract those expenses to determine profit. Profit is always like the revenue minus the expenses. Sometimes they'll give you that on the exam, by the way, as like a formula, but not always. So then we have to subtract the expenses, which they told us were 250 plus 450 for the drinks plus 100 for the decorations. And then we want to make at least $750, so we want this to equal at least $750. Now you could do like an inequality symbol if you want, but whenever it's like at least, I just use an equal sign because like the least amount is going to be the same thing as if you wrote an equal sign. So we're going to say 500x minus, and then when you add and multiply this all, or when you add this all up, you're going to get that is 800 minus 800, and that has to equal 750. So now we're going to add 800 to each side, because we're trying to solve for x, remember? So I didn't mean to cross that out, sorry. So then we're going to cross it out on this side, and then we're going to add these up. So that's going to be 0, 5, 15, 1,550 is equal to, and then on the left-hand side, you're going to get 500x. So now we have to divide by 500 on each side to get x by itself. So when we divide by 500 on each side, we're going to get that x is equal to $3.10. So then that would be E. For number 14, it says 60 athletes are assigned either green, yellow, or blue jerseys in that order. Therefore, the last athlete is assigned which of the following jerseys? So like they get a green, a yellow, or a blue. So it's kind of like in groups of 3 is how you can think about it. Like there's 60 athletes. So like athlete number 1 gets a green one. Athlete number 2 gets a yellow one. Athlete number 3 gets a blue one. So if you divide this into groups of 3, you just have to think, okay, the groups of 3 are repeating over and over and over again until we get over to like what's left over. And then that would tell us like which of these we're on, basically. So 60 divided by 3 actually divides in evenly, so that means that they're going to end up on that very last jersey with the blue jersey, like the last person gets that blue jersey. Now, if this said something like 59 athletes and we divided by 3, that's going to be like 19 point something something something. So it would be 19, hold on. Well, it doesn't even matter. You could just say that it was going to be 19, and then that would, what's 19 times 3? Hold on. 19 times 3 is 57. So 19 times 3 would be 57. So then there would be like 2/3 left over. So that would mean that like the last person would have been the yellow, because you have to go like 2 into your sequence. Like you have to go that it's not the green one, it's the second one, the yellow. Okay, so then let's go. Do you think it's good having a 2.7 for my GPA as a senior? Um, Whenever someone asks me like what's a good test score, what's a good GPA, I always respond, I can't tell you that. It depends on where you're applying. So like for if you want to go to Harvard, no, that's not a good GPA. But if you want to go to like certain like state schools or community colleges, then like yeah, that might be their average GPA. So like you have to think of what's the average of where you're going. Are you at or above it for it to be good? And then someone asked about vet school. My sister's actually in vet school right now. You actually have to have like a really good GPA to get into colleges for vet school. So then let's go to number 15. The cost of 3 tickets for Liam and his 2 friends to see a movie was $45 before tax. Liam and 1 friend bought tickets for the same price. The price of the other friend's ticket was 3 times the price of Liam's ticket. What was the price in dollars of Liam's ticket? The cost of 3 tickets, okay, for Liam and his 2 friends. So Liam and one of the friends are buying a ticket at the same price. So there's 2 of these friends, or 2 people, Liam and this 1 friend, who are buying it for X amount of dollars, let's say. And then we have that the price of the other friend's ticket was 3 times the price of Liam's ticket. So this other friend is going to, this is the price of Liam's ticket, right? So the price of his ticket, this other friend, would be 3 times that. So 3x is what we would do there. So if we want to now write an equation for what they're going to, what they've spent, which is $45, it would be 2 times the X price for the tickets, because there's 2 friends buying it for X amount of dollars, plus there's 1 friend buying it for 3 times whatever the X price is that they paid. And then that all has to total to $45, they told us. So 1 times 3x is just 3x, so then 2x plus 3x is just 5x. So we have 5x is equal to 45. And then to find out what x is, which is what we want, the price of Liam's ticket, we would divide by 5 on each side, and we get that x is equal to 9, so it's g. So let's keep going to the next one. Give me 1 second to get water. Thank you guys for liking and sharing the live. So then let's go to this one right here. The number line below has been divided into 6 equal parts from 1 to 12. Each equal part has been labeled accordingly below. Which of the following is true for 2 root 3? So 2 root 3, if we put that into our calculator, that would be 3.46 yada yada yada. So we're just going to say it's with the little squiggly equal sign because it's not exactly equal to it. Would be 3.46 yada yada yada. Okay, so now remember this was broken up into 6 different parts, 6 different portions right here. And the distance from 1 to 12 is going to be 11. So there's 11 like units, I guess you could say, between 1 and 12. And then we're dividing that, that total like distance right there into 6 equal parts. So 11 over 6 would tell you what each of these little bunny hops is, because people always like remember these as like bunny hops when you learn them in school. And that, if you put that into your calculator, would be roughly about 1.83, and then the 3s are repeating. So this is the distance for like each of these bunny hops is 1.83 with the repeating bar for the 3s. Now remember, we're trying to look for where this is on the number line, approximately 3.46. So let's see, okay, if we add 1.83 to 1, that's going to mean that we're at 2.83 over here. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, like we can estimate. And then if we add 1.83 repeating again, we'll just do the 1.83. Then that would be, hold on, let's see, 2.83 plus 1.83. And that would be 4.66 something 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 at G. Now we wanted to know where this was, because that's the value they're asking about. That has to be in between F and G. So which one of these says that 2 root 3 is between F and G? Well, that would be A. So then let's go to number 17. This is 750 why would it not be 1.83 times 2 as opposed to 2.83? 1.83 times 2. Oh, you could do that too if you wanted to. It's just like I was trying to show like what each one was. Like if you had already seen in your head that like 2.83 was going to be too small, you could have multiplied by 2 and added that onto the 1 to get to 4.66 if you want. That's totally fine as well. So then let's go to 17, 376 hours after 8 p.m. The time will be, okay, so remember there's 24 hours in a day. So every 24 hours you're getting back to 8 p.m. over here. So this is kind of like that problem we did a little while ago, kind of like with the Jersey one where like the remainder is kind of what's important. Well, it is what's important. So when we do this, we're going to have that goes in 15 times, and you technically would be like doing this if you wanted to, or you could do it in your calculator and say like I have 15 and then figure out what the remainder is. Either way works, by the way. So we're going to get 15, and then the remainder would be that there's 16. So 15 remainder 16. So that means there's 15 days that are occurring. So we get back to 8 p.m. at the end of that 15 days, right? So we're at 8 p.m. Then we have this remainder of 16 hours. So we're at 8 p.m., but then we have to add on 16 hours to that. So 8 p.m. plus 16 hours, that's going to be, for every 12 hours, you get to like the next a.m. or p.m. portion. So like 12 hours would be 8 a.m. And then if you add 4 more hours, like to make it the 16 hours, you get to 12 p.m. So then it would be K. Do you have booklets or study materials? Yes, I do. I have let me show you my Amazon thing. Let's see if it updated, because I literally just published this book today, but they have to like review it. Yeah, it's still in review. But I have this one that's available. The SAT one is available. It's live. It's Overcoming SAT Math. And then the Overcoming ACT Math workbook is in review, so that it usually takes like 24 hours for them to approve it. This is for ACT. It's on Amazon, but I have a link directly to my SAT book on my website, which is in my profile. So you can check that out, and you can support me if you're interested in doing that. It's greatly appreciated. And my books are awesome. They all come with, these get uploaded onto YouTube to go with like each of the chapters. I think it's stupid that like we have an answer key, like a vague answer key, and you're supposed to just like figure it out from that. I think it's more helpful to see it. So let's go to the next one. The debate team for Fake High School averaged 15 points per round. Fake High School. I know, like, I get that I wasn't creative to the person that said that in the comments, but, yeah. So, the debate team for Fake High School averaged 15 points per round for 7 rounds of debates. There's a debate going on in the comments about 12 a.m. is midnight. Yes, you're correct. 12 a.m. is midnight, 12 p.m. is noon. So then, let's go to number 18. So it says that we have the debate team at Fake High School, averaged 14 points per round for 7 rounds of debates. They scored at least, 7 rounds, they scored at least 12 points per round in each of the 7 debate rounds. For any one of the debates, what is the maximum number of points per round the debate team could have scored? Okay. So they average 15 points per round. So remember, average is just another way of saying mean. So if we write an equation for like the mean should be 15. And remember, mean is equal to the sum divided by how many things you're talking about in your list of data. So the sum of like all the points for those 7 rounds, I'm going to call it the sum of 7 so that we know it's the sum of those 7 rounds, divided by how many rounds there are, because that's how many data points you have of points, 7 rounds. This would be the equation that for the mean, like setting it up. So if we multiply each side by 7, we could figure out what the sum of 7 is, and that's going to help us figure out what the maximum number of points per round is that they could have scored. So when we do 15 times 7, that's going to be 105. So we know that the sum, when we add all of the rounds for the points for the 7 different debate rounds, has to add up to 105, right? Well, we want to know the maximum number of points for any of the 1 rounds they could have scored with like all the different scenarios you can think of. So think about like what's a scenario where you would have one of these scores being like the max that they possibly could. Well, and they said that they scored at least 12 points in each of the rounds. So if they score 12 points for 6 of those rounds, then that's going to leave room for the a maximum score for like the 7th round, or like it doesn't have to necessarily be like round number 7. It could be like one of the 7 rounds for that max score. And then that needs to add up to 105. So we would do 12 times 6, which would equal 72, plus whatever that max is that we're looking for has to equal 105. So we're going to subtract 72 from each side, and when we do that, we get that the max is 33, so that would be E. Okay, give me 1 second to drink some water. Okay, oh, and I haven't been looking at my thing. There's nothing I had to tell. Okay. So then, let's go to, just FYI, the C thing doesn't work, but what does work is choosing between what looks the most similar on the exams, especially on the SAT. It also works for the ACT. So like if you have the answer choices A, B, like, and it's -1, 1, C is like 2, D is 3, E is 4, you're probably going to want to pick between A and B, because most of the time, one of those is the answer choices, because one of them is just like you usually forgot like an integer thing, like the negative rules or something like that. So that's why that works so often. So then let's go to, sorry, let's go to number 19. A particularly annoying bird chirps once every 15 minutes. Samantha is trying to study for an upcoming exam and can't help but notice that the bird chirps 24 more times since it initially started chirping at 6 a.m. If this is true, what time is it now? Okay, so let's see. It's chirping 4 times per hour if it's chirping every 15 minutes, because there's 4 groups of 15 minutes in an hour. So it's chirping 4 times per hour. And then, let's see, it's chirping 24 more times since 6 a.m. So it was 6 a.m. and then it chirped 24 more times. And remember, those 24 times are being divided into groups of 4 to figure out how many hours that have, passed, I guess. So then if we do 24 divided by 4, that's going to be 6 hours that have passed. So if we start at 6 a.m., and then we add on those 6 hours, that's going to be 12 p.m. So it would be J. So then let's go to number 20. A local animal shelter decides to have a bake sale. The animal shelter bought 2,000 cookies for 10 cents each, 1,000 brownies for 50 cents each, and 500 cupcakes for $1 each. The animal shelter charged 20 cents for each cookie, $1 for each brownie, and $2 for each cupcake. At the end of the sale, the shelter had sold 1,950 cookies, 982 brownies, and 485 cupcakes. Which of the following is the profit the animal shelter made? Thank you guys so much for liking and sharing the live. It really means a lot. So then let's go and figure out what the expenses are, what the revenue is, and then we can subtract to get the profit. Because remember, and I do have a note right here that I wanted to write that the formula, to remind everybody, for profit is equal to revenue, which is like the money you bring in, like the money, you can think of it if you're in a store, the money you're handing to the clerk and that like they keep, that's kind of like the revenue. But that's not the same thing as profit, because it costs money to run the store, right? So you have to subtract the expenses, like the rent for the store, like paying the employees, that sort of thing. And then the profit would be like the difference between these. So what we're going to do now is we're going to calculate, let's calculate the expenses first, since that's in the first sentence. So the expenses, okay, I'll get rid of John, don't worry guys. Okay, so the expenses are going to be $2,000 times 10 cents each. And then for the cookies, and then I said $2,000, I think. I meant 2,000 cookies times 10 cents for each of the cookies. And then 1,000 of those brownies times the 50 cents that they pay for each of those brownies. And then we have 500 cupcakes for $1 each. And that's going to be how much their expenses are, because they're buying all this from the store to then resell it. So if we add all of that up, if we multiply and add all of that up, we are going to get that is $1,200 for their expenses. Now we need to calculate the revenue. So the revenue is going to be equal to how much they're selling of each and like the price of each that they sell it for. And then adding all of that up. So it's going to be that they sold 1,950 cookies, and they're selling it for 20 cents each. So times 0.20 is the amount of revenue they're making from just the cookies. Now, if you want to find the amount of revenue they're making from the brownies, then that's going to be 982 brownies times the selling price, which is going to be $1 for each brownie. And then we want to find the revenue for the cupcakes, so it's going to be 485 cupcakes times $2 that they sell each cupcake for. So then we're going to multiply and add all of that up, and when we do, we get 2,342. Now remember, we're looking for profit, so we have to do revenue minus expenses. So we're going to do 2,342 minus 1,200. And when we do that, we get C. Is free response worth more than the multiple choice? If you're talking about the SAT, no, like it's not, like that's not how they score it. But this is the ACT, which doesn't have free response. Give me 1 second to grab water, guys. Okay, so then let's go to number 21. And it says, Max, what does AG stand for? It's the initials of my name. Max wanted to earn money for new video games, so he sold 12 of his used DVDs for $8 each. With this money, he bought 3 new video games. Then he had $24 left over. Which of the following is the average amount Max paid for each new video game? Okay, so he's selling 12 of them for $8 each. So let's figure out the money he got from selling them. So 12 times 8 is going to be 96. So he got $96 for selling these used DVDs. Yeah, used DVDs. And then, so if we have that $96 that he got from selling them, we can subtract 3, because there's 3 video games, times the amount he paid per video game, and that would be like the total amount that he's paying for these 3 new video games. And that has to equal to, they said there was $24 left over. So now all we have to do is just solve for what X is. So we could, you could either like subtract 24 and add 3x to the other side, or you could just subtract 96. I'm going to just do the subtracting 96 from each side. And then you would have that negative 3x is equal to negative 72. And then you would just divide by negative 3, and you would get that x is equal to 24. So it would be H. Selling DVDs brings me back to the thousands, yeah. Like, what was that store called? The one in the mall. Was it Spencer's? I don't know. It's been a long time. Okay, so then let's go to number 22. How do you do these in a timely manner for the actual test time was a big stressor for me. So you just have to practice with like 1 minute for each question. Like, don't wait till test day to practice for that is the best advice I can give you to figure out like how to get better about that. You just got to do practice sets over and over again, timing yourself. Why not 96 minus 24? You could have done it that way too. That's what I said at the beginning. Okay, let's go to 22. If it is currently Wednesday, then what day of the week was it 150 days ago? So right now it's Wednesday, and we want to go 150 days into the past. Now remember, there's 7 days in 1 week. So if we want to figure out what 150 days in the past is, we have to think in terms of week weeks first and then figure out what the remainder is to help us out. So there's 7 days in a week, and we're talking about 150 days. So if we divide by 7, that's going to be 21, and then there's a remainder of 3. So we would go back a whole 21 weeks, and then we're at Wednesday again. And then we have that remainder of 3 days that we need to go back again. So if we go back, it's going to go to Tuesday, to Monday, then to Sunday. So then it would be K.